On January 29, 2025, tragedy struck American skies. A day that began like any other, but ended as the first major U.S. air disaster in over 15 years. A commercial airliner and a military helicopter collided over Washington, D.C., exposing the razor-thin margins between routine and catastrophe. Let's break down what happened, why it happened, and what it means for the future of aviation safety. American Eagle Flight 5342, a Bombardier CRJ-700, was on a routine flight from Kansas City to Reagan National Airport. 64 people were on board, the crew preparing for a visual approach to runway 33, flying north along the Potomac River. The city's monuments glittered below as the pilots focused on landing, unaware of the danger ahead. The weather was clear, visibility good, and everything was by the book. These were the last moments of normalcy before disaster struck. Meanwhile, a UH-60 Blackhawk helicopter, Dusty 77, was flying a low-level military route over the Potomac, carrying 3 soldiers. The crew, highly trained and operating under visual flight rules, navigated the same corridor as the inbound jet, but at a lower altitude. Both aircraft were relying on their eyes and communication with air traffic control. Unbeknownst to them, their paths were about to fatally intersect. At 7:41 p.m. over the icy Potomac, the 2 aircraft collided. The Black Hawk's rotor sliced into the jet's fuselage, instantly crippling both. The helicopter spun out of control, crashing onto the George Washington Parkway and erupting in flames. The jet broke apart, its main fuselage slamming into the river. The sound and chaos were immediate. 2 crash sites, a river on fire, and dozens of lives in peril. In seconds, routine flight became national tragedy. The CRJ-700 shattered as it hit the Potomac, sending debris and jet fuel across the icy water. The Blackhawk crashed on the parkway, narrowly missing rush-hour traffic, its wreckage ablaze. Emergency calls flooded 911 as first responders raced to both scenes. The night was filled with sirens, smoke, and disbelief. The scale of the disaster became clear. 2 crash sites, dozens of lives at stake. Minutes before the collision, air traffic control warned the Blackhawk of nearby traffic. Dusty 77, traffic alert, 12 o'clock, 3 miles, regional jet descending. The Blackhawk pilot replied, "Traffic in sight," but had mistakenly identified a different aircraft. The controller, believing the threat was seen, instructed a turn for separation. Tragically, the helicopter turned directly into the path of Flight 5342. A simple miscommunication sealed the fate of both crews. The Blackhawk pilot saw the wrong plane, a departing jet, not the inbound Flight 5342. In the complex, light-filled DC airspace, this visual error is a known risk. The eastward turn, meant to avoid danger instead, led the helicopter into the jet's path. A single moment of mistaken identity had catastrophic consequences. Flight 5342 was under instrument flight rules, guided by ATC and instruments. Dusty 77 was under visual flight rules, relying on see and avoid. The system depends on VFR pilots visually identifying threats, but at night in crowded airspace, this is fraught with risk. The controller's warning shifted responsibility to the helicopter, but the pilot's visual mistake left no safety net. This vulnerability at the intersection of IFR and VFR proved fatal. The system's flaw, a single visual error, can override all other safeguards. Reagan National's airspace is among the world's most complex narrow corridors over the Potomac, surrounded by no-fly zones and busy heliports. Military flights and commercial flights share tight stacked routes with dazzling city lights complicating visual identification. On the night of the crash, these factors created a perfect storm. The system works until a single error breaks the chain. Geography didn't cause the crash, but it set the stage for disaster. Rescue teams braved freezing water, burning jet fuel, and darkness to search for survivors in the Potomac. Boats, helicopters, and divers fought against time and the elements. The Blackhawk's wreckage burned on the parkway as crews worked to contain the fire. Despite heroic efforts, the impact forces left little hope. The rescue quickly became a recovery, but the bravery of first responders shone through. This disaster wasn't isolated. Recent global incidents, from bird strikes in South Korea to missile strikes over conflict zones, show aviation's persistent vulnerabilities. Each tragedy, whether from nature, conflict, or human error, exposes weak points in a complex system. The DC collision was a stark reminder: safety is never guaranteed. Every loss demands renewed vigilance and learning. 64 passengers, 3 soldiers, 1 moment changed everything. This story is about human error system flaws and the courage of those who responded. We tell it to honor the lost and to learn vital lessons. What stood out to you? Share your thoughts below. Keeping the conversation alive matters. Subscribe for more deep dives into the events that shape our world. Stay safe, stay aware. Until next time.